What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to a brand new update on the Alexander Isak to Liverpool transfer saga, because we have many new twists and turns to report for you guys. So strap in, grab a drink, grab a popcorn, because today's video is going to be very interesting. But also, how are you feeling about Liverpool snatching victory in the 90 plus 10th minute of stoppage time with Rio and Guma's 16-year-old kid's debut goal in the Premier League? An absolute stuff of dreams, a Hollywood script written by the Premier League scriptwriters. It's just an absolutely amazing game. Of course, Liverpool need to fix so many issues, which I talked about at length in today's first video, so make sure to check out my review and reaction video which I uploaded earlier today. But now let's talk about the fact that the Newcastle co-owner Jamie Reuben and the Newcastle owners, the Saudis, the PIF delegation, have spoken to Alexander Isak at his home in an attempt to convince him to stay at Newcastle and to return to training and to return to the Newcastle squad. But nothing suggests so far, according to Craig Hope, from the meeting, the information coming out, nothing suggests is that Isak had a change of heart. It looks like Isak still wants to play for Liverpool, and Louis Ryder, another journalist, is reporting that attempts to get Isak to stay at Newcastle were unsuccessful, because the striker is sticking to his guns and he wants to leave the club. He wants to go to Liverpool. And also Alex Crook, another reliable journalist, is reporting, and I quote, "I still think we will see another bid from Liverpool, a British record offer between now and the transfer window deadline, which is Monday. I think they're gonna test Newcastle's resolve, and we know Newcastle are firing darts in terms of strikers, trying to sign strikers into the club. They are still keen to sign Vissa. They had a bid rejected for Strand Larsen. By the way, a £50 million bid got rejected for Strand Larsen of Wolves. It's amazing how inflated the strikers are in the Premier League, but that's the price you have to pay for a half-decent striker like Larsen when the Premier League survival is at stake for Wolves. So of course they will reject that bid. But of course Wolves expects Newcastle to make a second bid, because you don't just go in with a first bid and then walk away from the deal. Of course Newcastle have also been offered the chance to sign Dusan Vlahovic, which could be a good option for them, but at the moment they are looking at other strikers. If Newcastle could get a couple of strikers in, or certainly at least one striker, then there could be a twist in the Isak tale. And that's what Alex Crook is reporting. And Sky Sports Keith is reporting. It will be interesting to see what comes out of that meeting between the Saudis and Isak, whether it was a case of a last try from PIF to try and convince Isak to stay, or was it a discussion to tell Isak, yes, you could actually leave for Liverpool. I still don't think it's written in stone as to whether he will remain or leave. If he was to leave for Liverpool between now and Monday's deadline, it would be for a Premier League transfer record. Newcastle are working furiously in the background to line up a couple of replacements. I still believe if Newcastle manage to bring in 2 replacements, then Isak will be allowed to go. There is a feeling from certain people from within the club that they want Isak to stay, but Newcastle are trying to sign Vissa. There is still hope a deal can be struck there. It will be interesting to see whether Newcastle put in a follow-up bid for Larsen, the Wolves striker. I think that they will. And Newcastle are very active. They are still trying to sign players, especially strikers. I think that is because there is a decent chance that Isak could leave between now and Monday's deadline. A lot can change in the next 5 or 6 days. It's a very fluid situation at St. James's Park right now. So the door is still open for this deal to happen. And Fabrizio Romano, just breaking news, just before I started recording this video, he is reporting that Isak is still fighting to join Liverpool. He is pushing for the deal to go through. He doesn't want to stay at Newcastle. He doesn't want to meet. He doesn't want to go back to training. He doesn't want to play for Newcastle anymore. And this is a big development, because it looks like that the PIF and Jamie Reuben, the Newcastle co-chairman, meeting with Alexander Isak was unsuccessful. They failed to convince Isak to change his mind and to stay at Newcastle. These are crucial days and crucial hours ahead in the Alexander Isak transfer saga, because they need to find a solution between Liverpool, Newcastle and Isak, but they are working tirelessly around the clock to make this happen. And I think Newcastle, once they get in a couple of strikers, they will let Isak go, because it's a toxic environment. Jamie Carragher said yesterday on Monday Night Football that he thinks Newcastle should sell Isak, not because he's a Liverpool fan, but because he remembers when Fernando Torres asked to leave Liverpool and he was forced to stay for another 5 months. It was a really difficult and a really bad dressing room until January, and it affected everyone in the dressing room, and Liverpool couldn't function at 100% of their potential, 100% of their capacity, because Fernando Torres, an unwanted and unhappy player, was in the dressing room, and it affected everyone and everyone around the club, around the dressing room. And it looks like Alexander Isak is meeting with some high-level officials today at Newcastle as well, but it looks like Alexander Isak is sticking to his guns. He doesn't want to play for Newcastle anymore. He made his mind up. He wants a Liverpool transfer, so Newcastle will try everything to get a couple of strikers in, and then I think they will allow Alexander Isak to leave. But that's it's all about PR and how Newcastle look to their fans and to the outside world, because they won't be able to sell Isak unless they get a couple of strikers in. And the fact that now Newcastle are pushing for Strand Larsen, the Wolves striker, shows to me that they were unsuccessful in convincing Isak to stay. Because if Newcastle convince Isak to stay, then they wouldn't really need to be desperate to sign a striker. But they could be left without a recognized senior striker. William Osula scored yesterday against Liverpool, but he only played like 15 minutes of Premier League football. Last season, Eddie Howe didn't really trust him, and this season I don't think he would trust him to start many games. And Anthony Gordon, their only recognized striker, as I say striker, the only player who can play striker apart from Alexander Isak and Osula, is Anthony Gordon, and he is now suspended for 3 Premier League games. And by the way, I find that very funny. So now the need for Newcastle to sign a striker is even bigger, because if they force Isak to stay and he doesn't want to play for Newcastle anymore, then they have no strikers for the next 3 games. Will they really start Osula in the next 3 games? I don't think Eddie Howe wants to do that, and also Newcastle will drop a lot of points, and it could cost them Champions League football, because Tottenham made a flying start. They are already 6 from 6, 6 points from 6 points, and also Chelsea are looking very good as well. So if Newcastle are not careful, they could drop so many points in the first month of the Premier League, or the first 3 or 4 game weeks, that they could be playing catch up. And the fact that this saga is still dragging on, and the fact that Newcastle still haven't come out, and Newcastle still haven't said categorically that they are not going to sell Alexander Isak. They left the door open with their statement saying that unless the conditions are met, they are not selling Isak. But if the right conditions are there, they will definitely sell Alexander Isak. That was their statement. And I think if it was up to Eddie Howe, he would have already sold Alexander Isak, because he is all about team unity, team harmony, everybody pulling in the right direction, and Alexander Isak poisoning the dressing room, and him facing questions about Alexander Isak every day or every press conference. He absolutely hates that, Eddie Howe. He doesn't want to face that, and it's not up to him. That's the problem. The Newcastle owners, the Saudis, make the decisions at Newcastle, and Eddie Howe is not part of the decision making. He even said in yesterday's post-match press conference after the Newcastle-Liverpool game that he wasn't involved in talks between the Newcastle owners and Alexander Isak. So Eddie Howe is completely left out of that conversation. He's just the manager, and he's not included in these talks, because the Saudis will decide on their own whether to sell Alexander Isak or not. But the fact that Alexander Isak is sticking to his guns and not budging, he still wants to leave Newcastle, he still wants to play for Liverpool, he still doesn't want to come back to training, he doesn't want to come back to play for Newcastle, means that every day it's more and more likely, as soon as Newcastle sign a couple of strikers, that Alexander Isak will be allowed to leave, because Newcastle don't want to see his value going down. And if he doesn't play any football for Newcastle until January, then his value will nosedive by 40-50 million pounds potentially. Johan Wissa has a burning desire to play for Newcastle, and he wants to play for Newcastle desperately. He hasn't been going to training at Brentford, ironically. Eddie Howe would love to have those kind of players in his squad. He doesn't want players who don't want to be there. And the Newcastle fans only want players who are really committed to the cause of Newcastle United, who are committed to this project of taking Newcastle back to a regular Champions League club and potentially even a title contender and the contender for the Champions League. And Newcastle played this Liverpool game like it was their cup final, and they got injured badly, losing two of their key players, Joelinton and Tonali, and also Anthony Gordon is suspended for 3 games. So they got too invested into this whole battle and going to war against Liverpool, and it backfired for Newcastle, because now they will be without 3 of their key players, at least for the next game, and potentially for the next 3 games they will be without some of their key players. So Newcastle are in absolutely a desperate situation. They need a striker, and they need a striker even before the next game week. Newcastle have a little bit easier fixtures. They play Leeds United away, Wolves at home, and Bournemouth away. But yeah, away games are never easy in the Premier League, and especially if you don't have a striker, that's not going to be easy. And after that, they play Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, and Brighton at the beginning of October. So that is a really tough run of fixtures for Newcastle. So they definitely need to sign a striker or two. And I'm not just saying that because I want Newcastle, I want Liverpool to get Alexander Isak, but this Alexander Isak transfer saga is fascinating. I think it's a really dangerous for Liverpool as well. If they miss out on Alexander Isak, we are seriously short up front, because I think we don't have a proper replacement for Hugo Ekitike. It shows every time Liverpool substituted Hugo Ekitike, we conceded goals in all 3 of our games. And it's also worrying that Liverpool have conceded 6 goals in the first 3 games of the season. 2 against Crystal Palace, 2 against Bournemouth, 2 against Newcastle. And these are not teams like Arsenal or Man City or Real Madrid or Barcelona or Bayern Munich. They are decent teams, but not top level teams. No disrespect to Crystal Palace, Newcastle or Bournemouth, but Liverpool shouldn't be conceding 2 goals against them. But I think it was expected that Liverpool would have some cracks at the beginning of the season, because we have 4 new signings, Frimpong, Kerkez and Ekitike and Florian Wirtz. They all need to be implemented into the team, and Kerkez is only 21 years old, so he's still a youngster and he will settle down, but the first few weeks are always a learning curve for a young player playing for a new team, especially for such a big club like Liverpool. But he's still a much better option than Robertson, whose legs are gone, who is washed, and he won't be able to handle the pace or the physicality of many Premier League wingers. Even Kerkez, who is a lot stronger and a lot faster now than Robertson. He's 10 years younger than Robertson. Even Kerkez sometimes struggles against these really fast, really pacey, really strong wingers. So at the moment, Liverpool need to score 3 goals basically to win a game of football. Hopefully we will settle down, and after the Arsenal game we have the international break, and then we have somewhat a little bit of an easier run of fixtures. But getting 6 points from the first two games is brilliant. It's all that matters, and let's hope we can beat Arsenal, because then this shaky start is suddenly a brilliant start to the season. But even a draw wouldn't be the worst result against Arsenal. But it's at Anfield, so I think Liverpool should go for the win. But if we don't fix our defensive issues, then we will struggle this season. And Arne Slot knows it, the players knows it, the club knows it. So Mark Guehi, hopefully he will be signed as well. Even though Man City are talking with Crystal Palace for the transfer of Mark Guehi, his preferred destination is Liverpool. He wants to go to Liverpool, and it's just that he's waiting for Liverpool to fresh out a deal with Crystal Palace. Hopefully that will happen in the next few days. Thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this transfer update video. Have a lovely day. See you later. Goodbye.